रेडी। जो मैं डिक्टेशन बोल रहा हूँ वो आपको मिलेगी SSC C एंड D ग्रेड टेस्ट 97 के नाम से। @100 और @80 दोनों टेस्ट मिलेंगे। स्टार्ट इट। I am thankful to you for having given me this opportunity long last to say a few words on the budget. Already much has been said, and I think the finance minister has come in for his share of congratulations as well as criticisms. So there is not very much to say, but I should like to say a few words. The increased development expenditure and the absence of any new taxation has earned for the budget a good response even from the businessman. I especially welcome the relief given to the middle classes by raising the exemption limit of income tax in respect of personal income. No doubt this is some relief to the middle classes, but I would request the finance minister if he could to raise this exemption limit from rupees 40,000 to rupees 60,000, as that would give substantial relief to the middle classes. I am indeed glad that the Taxation Inquiry Commission has been appointed with Dr. John Mathai as the chairman, and I am sure that many of the vexed problems may be solved through this commission. At the same time, I would request the finance minister to put off the state duty bill for the present, since this inquiry commission has been appointed and they may go into this question, for I feel that it is not an opportune moment to put on more taxes on the people. Already, as Mr. Gadgil has pointed out, there are so many taxes on the people. The people are overburdened by taxes and they are just trying to recover their stability. So, in regard to state duty, I would ask him to consider about it. My reason for asking it to be postponed is, as I have said, that the people are still facing economic distress. And then our government is not able to offer the amenities which other countries have, where the state duty exists, such as free compulsory education for children, free medical aid, homes for the poor and the destitute, old age pension, etc. So my humble suggestion is that this point may be considered by the Taxation Inquiry Commission. I agree that there is a brighter side of the picture, and that instead of continually harping on our poverty, we should also see the bright side. We are making increasing progress towards laying the foundation of a welfare state. With the cooperation of all and the implementation of the 5-year plan, I am sure, sir, that we should be able to lay the foundations and fulfill the dreams of India. It is indeed encouraging to know from the finance minister that there is a tendency of lowering food prices all over the world. And in that case, the prices in our country would be lowered. Regarding defense, for obvious security reasons, I do not agree with my friends who say that the expenditure should be curtailed. It is not advisable to take any undue risks and slacken the defense arrangements. Indeed, defense is one of our valuable assets, although strange to say there seems to be adverse opinion in some quarters. I agree with what General Cariappa once said, that God and army are remembered only when there is trouble. The army consists of the most disciplined and loyal set of young men. It would not be proper to effect economy in the pay of these brave officers, as it would not be an incentive for the right type of young men to join the army, and it would become ineffective and inefficient. I believe already officers who were drawing rupees 14,000 as their pay are now getting only rupees 17,000 and about rupees 1,000 as allowance. That is, they are getting about half of what they were getting before. It is very hard for those officers on field duty to establish separate establishments for their families and for their children, and I would especially appeal to the finance minister to see that the family allowances may be restored to those officers who are on field duty. Economy in army could be effected in other ways. There is scope for more efficient operation of defense industries, which process seems slow, and by purchase policy of utilizing goods and stores indigenously manufactured. Preference should be given to country-made war materials, such as could be produced here and they would be cheaper than foreign-made goods. I may also suggest that the armed forces who are not on field service or under any operational commitments could be utilized for giving military training to the youths in schools and colleges, which would teach discipline and loyalty. The university authorities should make military training as part of their compulsory education, just as they have adopted social, domestic, and political sciences. The National Cadet Corps is already inculcating military training in some universities such as Bombay and Calcutta. But if military training is made compulsory for our university students, it will go a long way. Sir, the Essential Commodities Act was passed 5 years ago, and when the minister yesterday came with an amending bill, we expected that he would give us a brief report of the working of this measure for the last few years. But unfortunately, we are kept in the dark in regard to the exact working of the act and the nature of the difficulties the minister is facing. Sir, as far as I know, many of the provisions of this enactment have been observed more in violation by his agents at the state level. The food minister may be very earnest, may be very able, and may be very anxious to see that the various provisions of the Act are implemented in the most effective manner at the state level, but unfortunately, his agents at the state level are not equally enthusiastic or equally anxious to observe the provisions of this enactment. The most important objectives of this enactment are to control the supply and distribution of commodities and to maintain a stable price level. In regard to both these aspects, I am afraid that the government has failed to raise the objectives in view. ये 1000 प्लस वर्ड के साथ डिक्टेट किया गया है, 100 की स्पीड है और फ्लक्चुएशन ना के बराबर है. ये आपको SSC C D टेस्ट नंबर 97 @100 वर्ड per minute के नाम से सॉफ्टवेयर मिल जाएगा. जो नेक्स्ट में डिक्टेट कर रहा हूँ वो @80 में मिलेगा आपको. Ready? Start it. Mr. Chairman, I rise to support the resolution which my honorable friend has moved in this House. While doing so, I do not agree with all the arguments that he has advanced in support of his resolution. He has given certain impressive figures to show how our budget is expanding year by year and how the national debt is rising both in absolute terms and in per capita terms. It is true that our budget is expanding and our national debt is rising, but it would be difficult to argue that the expansion of the budget and the increase in our national debt are dangerous evils in themselves. We have to realize that after India became independent, very many states have undertaken certain responsibilities which were not considered to be normal government responsibilities during the British regime. We have now undertaken the responsibility of expanding our economy at a very fast rate, and I hope it is the policy of the nation as a whole that in order to expand economic activities at a rapid rate, it is desirable that the government itself should undertake certain responsibilities in this matter. It is now, I hope, a policy which is agreed to by all the sections of our people that the public sector has to expand very fast in order that this responsibility might be discharged adequately by the government. If the public sector is to expand, obviously the budget has to expand simultaneously with it, because the various government departments are responsible for controlling and managing the concerns in the public sector. If the public sector is to expand, it is also quite natural that the national debt should rise, because it is only by raising capital in the market that the government is in a position to stabilize and run concerns in the public sector. government as such has not got any capital of its own which it can plug back into various concerns. First, for stabilizing those concerns and then for running them. It is therefore necessary that our exchequer will have to take the responsibility of at least finding the initial capital and for some time the working capital in order to establish and work the various concerns in the public sector. It is therefore quite natural that the budget figures should expand and the national debt should rise. At the same time, one has also to consider whether the establishment and expansion of the public sector is the only explanation for the increase in budget expenditure and increase in national debt. It is very difficult to give any opinion offhand in this matter. But if one were to reply on the findings of the Planning Commission and the sentiment which is often expressed by the government spokesmen themselves, then one might say that there is considerable increase in the non-developmental expenditure of the government. It is that part of the increase which is really a matter of concern both to the country as well as to this house. Now, sir, the government has by implication accepted the proposition that non-plan expenditure is increasing and that there is need for economy all round. Various committees have been appointed to which my honorable friend has made reference in order to find out whether non-developmental expenditure could be reduced to a reasonable size. Unfortunately, in spite of the deliberations of these committees and the efforts that these committees have made to find out how the expenditure could be reduced, very little impressive results seem to have been achieved so far, and it is this aspect of the matter which is creating considerable concern in the country. I would not agree with the two speakers who have just spoken before me that the taxes in this country are abnormally high. We are only taxing 8% of the national income so far, and that is a very modest figure. I know that the burden of this tax is falling on the shoulders which are too weak to bear it, and it is this which is creating dissatisfaction in the country. There is considerable scope for reconsidering the entire tax structure in our country to see that the taxes are so distributed that those who are able to bear the burden thereof are really taxed much more than those who can ill afford to pay these taxes. At the same time, as far as the percentage of national income is concerned, the taxation is not very high and there is scope for further increase. Again, the question is whether this increased taxation is going to be used for the development of the country or for expenditure which does not bring an adequate return in terms of capital formation, in terms of a rapid rise in the economic development, and in terms of raising the standard of living of the people. In this connection, it is very natural to note that when there was a strike notice given by the central government employees, the government was not happy. 840 वर्ड के साथ डिक्टेट किया गया है। आपको SSC C D टेस्ट नंबर 97 @ 80 की स्पीड से मिल जाएगा। फ्लक्चुएशन ना के बराबर है, 80 की स्पीड है, टाइप करेंगे।